let us go ahead. In order to move this along, we have a lot of people waiting in line, and we'll just have a simple response here. Let us go ahead and go to this woman here in the front. To whom is your question directed?
Actually, to Mr. Christopher Hitchens. Don't worry, God's not going to drag you kicking and screaming into heaven. Mr. D'Souza, I have read every single one of your books, and I know that you're a true biblical
Let's have the question.
Yes.
Let's have the question.
My question is, Mr. Hitchens, have you ever truly studied the Bible, the archaeological, the written evidence, the prophetic evidence? Have you truly ever studied the Bible?
Very good. Let's have your question, or your response.
I remember almost the first book I read when I began these investigations at the age of about 13, I think it was, 14, was an extraordinary book by a German archaeologist. Probably some people here have read it, called Werner Keller, called The Bible as History, the subtitle of which is Archaeology Confirms the Truth of the Book of Books. A very impressive book indeed. And I've since followed the work of the great Israeli archaeologists who were given the mandate by Ben-Gurion, as he put it, to go out and dig up the title deeds of our state, particularly Professor Israel Finkelstein, the head of the very distinguished archaeology department at the University of Tel Aviv, who impresses me very much by his scholarship and his honesty, because if there was any archaeologist who hoped he would find the evidence for Moses, for the Exodus, for the wandering, for the conquest of Canaan and so on, and the exile, it would be him. And they had control over all the relevant territory at the time, and they've been forced to concede what I think probably was all known all along. There isn't a word of truth to the story at all. There's nothing to it. None of this ever happened. The whole of the New Testament is a very clumsy, man-made fabrication, and we can be grateful for that, because if it was true, we'd be living under the tyranny of a God who mandated genocide, genital mutilation, mass murder, expulsion, theft, and infanticide. So, as I began by saying, it's not just that I don't think it's true, but my wish is not father to my thought. I don't think it's true. I add that I'm glad it's not true. I don't get those things the other way around. I don't think anyone who believes in a divine, redemptive Savior, Father, and so on, can really ever be acquitted on the same charge in the same way of saying that there is no wish-thinking element to their own belief. And in that respect, I defer to Sigmund Freud's famous essay, The Future of an Illusion, to which I commend all here who have not yet read it.
Well, let's go ahead and have a question here, and then, of course, in your summary remarks, you can always address each other if there's anything here that you'd like to respond to. Sir, your question is for?
Sure. Brief as possible. The question's for both of you, as well as everyone here. I'd really like everyone to think about this. If we assume that the average age expectancy is 80 years old, you spoke of a last judgment. How is it justified, if we only live 80 some odd years, that we can be damned for all eternity? And I would like to say that I think this is not justice, this is sadism. Thank you.
Mr. D'Souza?
Let me say two things about it. Number one, it seems to me that you have, first of all, a concept of eternity that is forever, right? It goes on and on. It never stops. Time never ends. I don't want to be the one to break the news to you, but time is a property of our universe. The Christian understanding is not eternity is essentially 1 million AD. The Christian understanding of eternity is a realm outside of space and time. So, in that sense, your objection is based upon a human understanding of historical time.
With our feeble earth brains, right?
Right. Now come to the rejection that you're talking about. The rejection you're talking about is not a prohibition, don't sin, stop sinning, or we're going to fling you into eternal damnation. It is simply accept that you are a fallible human creature. Is that so hard to accept? No. That you have committed sins for which you have not done full atonement. You accept that?
As everyone here would.
As everyone here would. And if there is a way to pay for those sins and all you have to do is utter the word yes to salvation, why, on what grounds do you refuse if what is available to you is eternal happiness? And if refusing has even the possibility of eternal separation from God, what obstinacy forces you to say, I won't do it, I will risk all of damnation with my full intelligence and free will?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you.
I would simply rephrase my question to say, if
Don't rephrase an answer, mine.
my answer is, if we only live to 80, how can any of us be rewarded with eternity of happiness or damnation? It seems imbalanced.
Let me rephrase your question a little differently. You basically want to live in a world without moral choice and moral consequences. Isn't that what you're saying? You're saying, why do I have to make a decision? Why do I have to choose one way or the other? Why do I even have to sign on the dotted line? I'll tell you why.
Why are you attacking me?
I'm not attacking you, I'm attacking your argument. I'm not attacking you, I don't know you.
Let's hear a response from Mr. Let's hear a response from Mr. Hitchens.
Look, I mean, I've known Dinesh for a long time. I know him to be a very humane and courteous and considerate and decent man, and I don't think he understands how wicked he sounds to so many people in this hall tonight. When he says, look, you've made a perfectly fair offer. We can torture you to death if we want, for the crime only of being born, but all you have to do is throw yourself on our mercy, and it'll be okay. Why don't you just do it? My dear Dinesh, do you not know what you sound like when you say that? I can hardly bear to look at you.
You're implying
that you could say something so evil, so stupid, so nasty, and so intolerant. It is what Fulk Greville says in his wonderful verse. It says, here is the order. You are created sick, and you are ordered to recover. And you're ordered on pain of death and torture forever. This is totalitarianism to the nth degree.
No,
it is the most refinement of cruelty and stupidity that it's possible to picture.
It's
and
really
you don't
not.
get
There
it
is
when
a-
people ask, does it seem okay to you? Say, you always have the chance to sprawl and grovel and beg and plead, and you might get off.
No.
Let's
You
hear the
can't
response.
Yeah,
know
let me
how you
answer.
sound.
Let's hear the response.
You can't know how
Let
you
me
sound.
answer. If there is a place...
You've already answered.
no, I haven't answered.
You've said it
because
3
you have
times
then-
now.
I tried to answer and you've caricatured my response. If there is a place called heaven in which there is no sin, how are we human beings who are sinful able to get there? You haven't confronted that question squarely. You want to deconstruct Christian theology? Well, let's look at its premise. Now, here's the point. There are certain decisions in life on which you will never have full information, and yet you still have to make a decision. I'll give you an obvious example. Let's say I'm dating a girl for 10 years. I now have to decide, should I ask her to marry me? I could say, you know what, I really don't know what life is going to be like with her for the next 40 years, so I'm going to be an agnostic. I'm going to keep waiting until the data comes in. The truth is, the data will never be in, even if I date her for another 5 years. At some point, I either have to propose, or if I don't make a choice, she will marry someone else, or we will both be dead. The practical necessity of life and also death forces us to make certain decisions even though we don't have full information. Now, we are always, as human beings, trying to A, deny our sinfulness, that's why I asked you the question, not because you're a sinner, we all are. But once we admit it, we then have to take seriously the idea that unrepented sins do carry some consequences, just as they do in this life.
Now,